All right, this essay is the flagship essay, if you will, meaning the title of this essay, or the word around which it's built, Portmanteau, is or will also be the title of the entire collection. So in a sense, all of the essays therein will somewhat be built around this one as well, or the theme of this. So here we go. Portmanteau. A large trunk or suitcase, typically made of stiff leather and opening in two equal parts, on the outside of which you might affix stickers of your various travels. From the Middle French porter, meaning to carry, plus manteau, meaning one's cloak or mantle. Also used to describe when two words and meanings are combined to form a new word, like brunch from breakfast plus lunch, or smog from smoke plus fog, or motel from motor plus hotel. But still, primarily, the luggage in which you carry your things from destination to destination. I was, as a child, something of a trial to my parents, of their patience a test. My mother, if you were to ask her about this fact now, would undoubtedly take on more blame than she should. That is because she is my mother, and because as parents we are often our hardest critics. I love her for that, but she would be wrong. I joke that most of my childhood was spent in my room, not by choice, but by consequence. Of course, if I was to put that in writing here, I would be wrong. I had an amazing childhood, filled with imagination and trading sports cards and riding bikes, yes, but also watching Saturday morning cartoons and toilet papering houses and listening in on my sister's phone calls, and once getting up the nerve after school to make a phone call of my own, only to ramble upon the quiet, unsure hello on the other end. Hi, Tiffany, this is Arthur, and this is how I feel about you. Then place the receiver up to a boombox, press play, and let Michael Bolton, that 1980s Cyrano de Bergerac, do the wooing for me. Still, my hard-headedness and quick temper were such that I did, more often than I wish was true, find myself escorted down the hall by the arm into my room, where I was then instructed to wait for my dad to come home, at which point the appropriate punishment would be dispensed, usually in the form of a talking to or a good spanking, but sometimes soap in the mouth. So, by my own hand, I do, in actuality, have a lot of memories waiting for my dad's arrival, sitting on my twin bed with its race car sheets, staring out the window, or worse, at the back of my bedroom door, which, of little comfort, had painted on it the pink nail polish outline of a Frankenstein-type monster, put there by the previous owner's child, who is probably still in timeout somewhere for that little artistic stunt. And if I wasn't on my bed, I was under it. Not because I was afraid of the forthcoming spankings, I learned to laugh those off, but because I wanted to make my parents think I had run away. Then they'd be sorry. To this end, I would open my window and remove the screen. Then I'd pull open my drawers and scatter a few clothes about the room, take down from my closet a particular red plastic suitcase, which opened in the middle so that each half was equal in size, then pack it with the few articles I would need for the journey ahead, which journey, as mentioned, was no farther than under my bed. And there I would wait, tucked against the wall, safe in the shadow, imagining my parents walking into the room, surveying my scattered clothes, the sure signs of a hasty exit out of town, then laying eyes on the open window, now falling to their knees and crying, asking God and absentee me to forgive their sins. And this is when I would slide out from under the bed and frankly forgive them, and they'd vow to never again send me to my room. That was the hope, anyway. Instead, I can still see in my mind's eye the dress shoe or sometimes boot of my dad enter the room, take a few steps forward, then pause at the edge and say, "Arthur, come out from under the bed." In the years since those adolescent days, there have been many beds, so to speak, under which I have hid out of fear or shame. Many moments from which I wished I could pack my bags and run away. outrun the truth of my actions or the impending consequences. But the focus of this essay is neither crime nor punishment. Rather, in the middle of this collection, like a latch connecting the two halves of my baggage, if you will, inside which you have already found a lot of articles and personal belongings of one kind or another, it is the suitcase on which I want to reflect, or suitcases in general. I was not, at that time, world traveler enough to have any travel stickers of any significance affixed to that red, cheap plastic exterior. And I don't know that I am any more of a world traveler now, though I have since upgraded to a polycarbonate carry-on and at least ventured outside my neighborhood. But I know many who are world travelers and whose suitcases accordingly bear those labels representing their various trips, sometimes vacation, other times for business, some final destinations, others just stops or activities along the way. Seattle, Disneyland, Yellowstone, Hawaii. The Grand Canyon, Niagara Falls, Florida, and Virginia is for lovers. Or internationally, Mexico, the Great Wall, Taj Mahal, Tahiti, the Acropolis, Tokyo, Ireland, and Paris is for lovers. And then there are generic travel stickers. Then there are the generic travel stickers too. Bon voyage, wanderer, explore more, on my way, globe-trotter, best trip ever, not all who wander are lost. And it's the journey, not the destination. Which cliche is true, but conversely, so is its foil. It's the destination, not the journey. Not to mention all the heart ones. I heart LA, I heart New York, I heart DC, I heart London, I heart Italy, I heart Spain, and I heart Amsterdam and Chicago and Jamaica and North Dakota and Maine and Wyoming and why not North Carolina and nameless Tennessee and Chicken, Alaska, population 12, where you can pick up an I got laid in chicken sticker for your suitcase, or the equally small western Washington township of Grace, where before entering you are asked to leave on the doorstep your politics next to your shoes, because sometimes not representing labels or differences is the sure way to grace in the face of those differences. And all of these stickers collected and stuck to the outside of your travel case because love or hate, hot or cold, bustling or desolate, there by choice or by overheating engine, they were and ever will be a part of the bigger journey. And to someone, they are, for a time anyway, both story and home. Which makes me wonder, if we were to open up the portmanteau that is the heart, that tightly latched trunk within a trunk, and wear our various life experiences on our bodies like travel stickers, each representing a personal path along the way to where we are now, to who we are now, what story would they tell? What winding trail would they reveal those destinations and stops along the way? And in wearing them, in unashamedly airing them, in letting them say, this is where I've been, or this is where I'm going, is there community and communion to be found among the strange masses? In that regard, as I look at my body or begin turning over in my mind my heart just to make note of all the scuffs and stickers, that formidable trip down memory lane, as it were, I realize just how well traveled I am, that I have, in fact, been around the block a time or two, and even beyond, and that I have a lot of stickers to show for those journeys. Up and down and all over my body, for example, these many scars already stuck, each with their own story, scattered like accents or apostrophes across my knees and elbows. Bike crash, bike crash, bike crash, yet another bike crash. Because learning to fall and get up again was just as important as learning how to balance and stay upright. And on my right arm, just to the left of the elbow, another scar about quarter size, also from a bike crash. This one, though, because I saw an open manhole cover and decided to drive over it instead of around it, which was a stupid thing to do, even for a 7-year-old. And these ones here, on both hands and knees from when I was 37 and knew better, but still decided to relive my glory days by building a bike ramp, then launching off it in front of my kids in true heroic fashion. And for a moment, on my velocipede, in the air, rocketing past my boys, looking down at their excited faces, I was that hero. Until my front tire hit the ground and twisted violently, and then from over the handlebars, me too, sparing irreparable damage to my face, but at the expense of my palms. And everything in me wanted to wheeze and sob and curse and complain. But my boys looked concerned, and I didn't want to scare them any more than they were already scared, so I chose not to show any emotions at all, bravely locking them back up instead. Which admission is actually stupidest of all. Because bravery is not the absence of emotion. In fact, sometimes the bravest thing we can do is spring open the latches on our heart and let the contents overflow, not stuff more in, no matter how messy it appears. And lots of other scars too, on my knuckles from punching wooden crates as a kid for fun, on my calf from a tin can lid, on my back from acne, and this particular trench down my thumb from a nail, but none as prominent as the one across my second son's bicep, which he made with a knife in his anger and loneliness after his mom packed up her bags and left, and which required 42 stitches and left blood caked on his arm and clothes, and me in the ER closing up my emotions again for him, even though my world was also falling apart. Or the scars across my oldest son's wrist, left after he too externalized the pain of divorce a few months later because there were suddenly too many things demanding space in his heart and not enough room to receive them. And though he tried with all his weight against the shell to push it down and lock them up, they all came spilling out. Then down his forearms and onto the concrete floor below. And if you have never stood before your child trying to hold it together while holding cloth to their wrists in an effort to stop the bleeding, then you cannot entirely know the emotional journey behind this particular stops label. But undoubtedly, you have been in the ER waiting room or somewhere else waiting inside yourself, as I was then next to his best friend Nate. And undoubtedly you have also found yourself brought to your knees in prayer of some kind or another, like I was then, trying to be brave but feeling like an empty shell, then pleading with God for help only to recall in that moment, and perhaps in reply to that prayer, scars of a different nature on another man who didn't deserve the pain either. Those ancient, living, immutable ones, those prints for peace on the palms and wrists of the Prince of Peace. So yes, on my exterior now, alongside my elaborate scar maps, these travel stickers on the surface of or from deep within my heart: divorced, ex-husband, single dad, ER patron, then ER patron again, next to parent of a suicide survivor, next to cleaner of blood on the floor, and late night Main Street speeder, and driver seat crier, and parking lot tear wiper, and big breath taker, and waiting room prayer, and prayer for help, and prayer for peace, and prayer for the desire to keep praying, and prayer for the strength to keep going, which at times are really hard labels to wear, and really hard destinations to talk about, and trips I wish we never had to take, but did. And the only thing I can do sometimes is look back and wonder how on earth we made it through, then thank God who is above the earth that my two older boys are still fellow travelers on it. Not everyone is so lucky. Believe me, I know. And my heart goes out to those whose label to bear is one of overwhelming loss and grief. But you know what else I know? I know that the heart has an exhaustive capacity for hurt and heavy and hard, but it can also store keepsakes without number. And that joy is neither luxury nor rest stop, a vacation only to be enjoyed in moments free from pain, but can instead be felt in the midst of the hurt and heavy and hard, and is actually quite often a byproduct of the pain preceding it. To that end, the newness of those labels, as terrible as they were to acquire, do not suggest that we have reached our final destination. No, those too are just stops along the way. They do not define, but refine. And neither does their boldness give them prominence on my suitcase, so to speak, nor precedence over the destination stickers previously affixed. Labels like these, which you have already noted from my childhood: tester of patience, suitcase packer, bicycle rider, sports card collector, solver of a murder, trader for sushi, basketball player, former lover of Tiffany Gwilliam, bosom sobber, holder of grudges when love is unrequited, wishful lover of Kyra Delgado, Valentine's chocolate buyer, and Michael Bolton listener. Not to overlook word speller, churchgoer, overcomer, trust rebuilder, language lover, early morning writer, and magical self-swirling red cabbage powder mixer, just to name a few more. But most magical of all, Dad, which label from its conception pushed me into a self-swirling state that has changed me and continues to change me for the better. And then that Dad destination a second time, and then a third time, and finally for the fourth time, Dad again, and each time their creation by way of a portmanteau, if you catch my meaning. At the hotel, or at home, on a smoggy day not far from SeaTac, just before brunch, our two distinct forms connected, so suddenly connected, forming something new. But also labels like these, with which you are not familiar but will be soon enough: wanderer and explorer, Lakers jacket wearer, swimming pool thrasher, chalk drawer, truck key giver, poker player, book collector, page highlighter, dog earer, people reader, and stamp collector. And other labels still, which I do not have time to get into, but which are of no less significance or importance to me, because they are me. Of course, all that blank space between the labels too, for all those journeys yet to take, both the planned destinations and the spontaneous stops along the way. Maybe husband again, and stepdad, and then, if I am lucky, father of the groom, or luckier still, grandpa, once, twice, times 3 and 4, maybe more, and down the road away, great-grandpa. And surely, too, labels from upcoming trips I'd rather not take or watch taken, and during which I will likely have to work hard to remind myself that they are not the end, and that even though they might appear monstrous, there is no need to hide under the bed or pack my suitcase and from them run away, which will certainly be the wrestle when I see from my bed that inevitable and scariest of all monster staring back at me from the door, inviting me to pack my bags for the final trip home and the ultimate dad critique, where there can be no irreconcilable differences, because only heaven is for lovers, really. Which death will not be a label I put on my suitcase myself, because it doesn't matter, and because we get new suitcases at the next stop anyway, may mine be red and plastic. But it is a label my kids will have to put on theirs: son whose dad has passed away. And that will be hard. But even then, I'll be most proud to have included in my obituary that they never lost me in the thick of life, that it took death, not divorce, to take me away from them. From there, it will be up to them to carry the mantle going forward, unprepared as they may feel. Much like, I imagine, young Elisha must have felt when Elijah, that ancient Old Testament prophet, threw his mantle over him and called him to serve. Or later, when Elijah was finally taken up to heaven, and from those heavens that same mantle came fluttering down, coming to rest on the ground for Elisha to take as his own, and with which to lead a people. Now, I am no prophet. I don't know that I am even a great leader, honestly. And as just a fellow traveler, I am without any vested authority to officially pass mantles on, other than to say, this essay is a mantle of sorts, and authority be damned. I am throwing it at your feet. I am calling you to serve. I am calling you to share. The world needs stories, your stories, especially the ones behind the scars, or the ones represented by the destinations already bound from the four corners of your wide and secret journeys. Without question, there are right now, in this very moment, people in the midst of us. Look around. People in the midst of a long and arduous journey of their own, weighed down to begin with, or made slower perhaps by the contents in the baggage they have been asked to carry or chosen to carry, and they need community. They need to see and hear and feel, even if in passing moment only, that they are not alone, that a similar journey is being asked of someone, or that a similar journey was beforehand asked of someone and they made it. Your stories, the sacred from the scared, can strengthen. They can save. And did you know that the word scared is just sacred, all mixed up, looking for its way? You can show it to them. No matter what travel stickers you bear or how deep you wear them, no matter what your struggle has been or is, or where along the path to victory or recovery or healing or forgiving you are, no matter if you have been abandoned or been lost and found, or feel like you are wandering aimlessly now, which is okay, because wandering does not mean you are lost. Open, please, like the overstuffed portmanteau that it is, your heart, and reaffirm through the travelogue to follow every reason for the hope and grace within you, and every reason for this label without I heart life.